Well, hello, folks. Welcome to Diction Week. So today I'm going to walk you through the big survey of all the diction rules you can apply, especially working with consonants, so that you can decrease your effort and increase your projection power, ease, and problem solving some tricky zones. If you are just joining us, pop in and say hello. Hello, Kevin. Good to see you in here. So let's be real for a second. This idea of diction tricks to help your voice is a gigantic topic. And honestly, it could take several weeks or months. And it's always so hard to teach. Yeah, it's probably one of the most important things, I think. And yet it is extremely difficult. So I want to give you the big tornado version, where I'm going to walk you through everything at a high level. And then we'll zoom down. Katerina, good to see you. It's late there, right? Shouldn't you be in bed? So I'm going to walk you through at a very high level, and then we're going to spend some time unpacking this. If you like this, I have a whole list of them in a separate short course that you can register for that we'll talk about another time. But I'm going to give you the full shebang here, okay? So let's back up for a sec. So ideally, singing would really just be overtone singing. Because overtone singing, I think, is ultimately easier than singing. Because you're just doing one sound. For example, like if you were just an instrument, you would just have to breathe into your instrument. And of course, like all things, you have to have technique. But there isn't as many movable parts. But once you add words, you run the risk of constantly changing and screwing up the instrument. Because the mouth opens, the tongue moves, the lips move, the larynx moves. Everything is moving around. So consonants and vowels get in the way sometimes of the freedom, ease, and consistency of the voice. But you can use those constraints for actual creative good. Okay? So, for example, each consonant is going to change the vocal tract. So if you have a word that starts with a B, the larynx is going to lower slightly. But you might not want the larynx to lower slightly, because if you're trying to sing in a brighter quality or ascend in range and you need to raise the larynx slightly, it might go up. Also, sometimes people will pressurize things in a less than useful place. Because you can say, back off, like where you're pressurizing in your throat, versus back off, moving the pressure elsewhere. So certain consonants, unless you pay attention, want to get pressurized in the wrong spot. Not necessarily the wrong spot, but like the less efficient spot. Let's all try that together. So imagine you're saying, back off, Betty. And I want you to actually constrict your throat. Like, do it intentionally, but be easy. Say, back off, Betty. Back off. It's easy to do it there because we don't often organically want to do it somewhere else. How does that differ if you puff up your cheeks? Like you're a blowfish. Back off. Build up pressure in your mouth. Back off, Betty. Boom, 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 boom. Like a drum. Boom, 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 boom. How does that feel? How does back off in your throat versus back off in your mouth differ? Pop that in the chat window. What does that feel like? I'll have a sip of my sparkling grapefruit water. How does back off in your throat differ than back off in your mouth? Yeah, one's tighter, free and easy, more projectable, but less effort. Exactly. So that's just one consonant. And so you could go through the whole alphabet, and each consonant is going to have their little different trick. And so I want to teach you what to do on what sound to shift the effort away from here and more to here, basically, so that you avail yourself. And what I found in some cursory research of this is, I think this is that you can actually increase the perception of your sound by like 20 decibels. So adding more precision to your diction helps the other person hear you in a way that you don't necessarily have to work as hard to be loud. So there's lots of value for this. So it's good for you and good for them. Now, if we back up from that, this presumes that you are working at the sound level, like analyzing your lyrics on the isolated sound, or what's called phonemes level, like the isolated sounds, not the letter necessarily, but the sound. So in the first exercise, I asked you to break down your words into isolated sounds. So if my first name is Thomas, my real name, my given name is Thomas, there are 2 syllables, Thomas. But those 2 syllables are actually comprised of t, a, I, s. So there's 6 letters in my name, but there's actually only 5 phonemes. There's 5 sounds. T, a, I, s. And the letter doesn't always say the sound, right? So the A in Thomas actually says I. So you have to, this is the weird switch you have to make. So you're reading a word, but the word and the letters don't necessarily say their name or sound. So I want you to be able to deconstruct your lyrics into their component phonemic parts, so that when you're applying the rules, you're applying them to the sounds, not necessarily the letters. Does that make sense? Because even though Thomas has a TH, you're not going to apply the rule. You're going to apply the T rule, or the T. You're not going to apply the th part. Does that make sense? You have to like pay attention to the sound. So you have all these rules we're going to do. You have the isolated phonemes you're going to work on. And then there's an interim step, a dreaded exercise I call fun with phonemes. Because it's not fun. It's probably everyone just liked all that one. Fun with phonemes is probably the least fun exercise. It's so boring, but it is the most useful, and it will save your life. And so what fun with phonemes is taking the isolated phonemes and ensuring that they are on the target pitch. So that you have a phoneme on a pitch that is using the target rule. For example, if you're singing somewhere over the rainbow, we have to identify, there's only 2 pitches there, somewhere, somewhere. But what wants to happen is somewhere over the rainbow. The lack of pitch precision sometimes happens, where the M of some gets caught in between some, gets caught sliding in there somewhere. And then the where, the W, the where, doesn't totally get up to the top pitch. So what we're going to do is make sure that we're applying each phoneme on the target pitch. So s, a, m, w, e, r, s, a, m, w, e, r, somewhere. Sometimes you can borrow a consonant from the lower one to the top. You can go somewhere. You can put the M on the top if you want, but that is a bonus feature. We're going to play around with that. So you can see how this is a totally different way of working than just making twang farm animal sounds. Let me pause there before I dive into the rules. What did you hear me say? What did you just learn from that? Voiced consonants are gold. Yes, you'll find that certain sounds help you and certain sounds conspire against you. If you want to have, yeah, we'll get into that. Very good, Matt. What else have you heard thus far? Pop that in the chat window. That the letters don't necessarily say their names. So we have to think about lyrics on the sound level, not the letter level. Yes. Fun with phonemes is not fun. Correct. Fun with You can sing the phonemes, or do you need to speak them? Well, this kind of begs the question of what is singing. Because if I'm doing I'm speaking on predetermined pitches. I would call that singing. So whether you're lengthening or shortening, I would say it's the predetermined pitch that makes it singing for me. Many different sounds in the same word on the same pitch. That's correct. So let me walk you through all the rules, and then over the course of the week, we're going to break them up. Okay? Are you ready? If you're ready, type ready. Hello, Rick. Type ready in that chat window, because you're gonna get a brain explosion. Kevin says, it helps though. When I have a problem memorizing things, I do fun with phonemes. Your body integrates it so fully that it feels familiar and easier to process. Absolutely. I also think there's a breath support component to it that we don't often talk about as a secret bonus feature. Christina says, you have to get to decide which pitch the phoneme goes on to your benefit. Exactly. Good. So let's take, let's go one at a time through the sounds. There's different classes of sounds. Let's start with nasal consonants. Nasal consonants can be used for good or evil for a number of reasons. So nasal consonants include M, N, or NG. What do nasal consonants include? Type that in there. M, N, or NG. Just so you remember. Nasals, M, N, or NG. They tend to be on the low frequency side or not as projectable. So, but they can act like a semi-occluded vocal tract or like a straw, or they can help make your voice easier. So if you're looking for a landing pad or a lily pad on which to rest for a second, you can actually go quicker and live longer on a nasal consonant. So you do some, instead of some and holding the vowel, in general, you can go quicker to a nasal consonant and live longer on them to help find a place to avail yourself of the ease that humming does in the middle of your singing. Over the rainbow, rain. Instead of rain, rain. You can go right to that. If you're looking for a resting spot or to help set you up for more power in the next section. But sometimes you don't want to muffle the tone there. If you change it to its non-nasal sound, it'll actually amplify the sound more. The opposite of an M is a B. It's the same placement with the lips. They're both voiced. One is nasalized, one's oral. Because listen to the difference between somewhere and subwhere. Somewhere, subwhere. Because I didn't nasalize and I didn't muffle and I didn't thin out a little bit, it was easier to make more sound on the B. Which would be correct, mostly correct, for Somewhere Over the Rainbow? I would say you want to lengthen the nasal, because what's weird about that song is that the unaccented part of the word is on the top pitch. In real life, you don't say somewhere. There's a place for us, somewhere. And you say somewhere. So we want the emphasis to be on the first part of the word and de-emphasize the second part of the word. We don't necessarily want to make where louder than some. So you can use the M there to help you back off. Somewhere over the rainbow. But I'm okay if on rainbow is almost like a raid bow. Over the rainbow. Raid bow. That'll help you make more sound. But obviously you don't necessarily want to do that into the threshold that someone would know you're doing the trick. The goal here is to always disguise your technique so that no one knows you're doing these weird things. So you have two ways to treat nasal consonants. You can either lengthen them or you can change them to their non-nasal correlate. An M becomes a B. It will sound like you have a slightly cold in your nose. So instead of Tom Burke, it'd be Tob Burke. By Dave is Tob Burke. By Dave is Tob Burke. You're correct, Salman. So M's become B's, N's become D's, and NG's become G. If you are looking for the master of lengthening nasals, you should look at Betty Buckley singing As If We Never Said Goodbye from Sunset Boulevard, or All Things Jane Monheit. One of my favorites. She's the master of the Diction Rules. If Betty Buckley and Jane Monheit had a baby, it would be the Diction Rules. Yes, they're juicy, juicy consonants. So those are the nasal consonants. Are we clear on that? You can lengthen them or you can change them to their non-nasal version. M to B, N to D, NG to go. Someone write in their lyrics and I'll do it for you. Someone write in some lyrics. And I'll tell you what we're going to switch. We're going to use some. So before I give you the next one, give me some other things to work on. Pop those in while I introduce you to the next. Great. Kevin had a question about R's and W's. I'm going to get to those next, just after I do the voiceless consonants. We're going to talk about glides. But first, let's talk about voiceless consonants. Voiceless consonants can be used for good or for evil. The fact that they are airy and flowy tends to sometimes increase the amount of fluff in the tone. So if you want to increase the fluff in the tone, you would actually allow the air to be infused into the vowels around it. So if you think of like Joni Mitchell singing A Case of You. Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, there's lots of voiceless consonants in there. Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. So instead of resisting that, you can actually lean into that and use the airiness in the tone to inform the fluffiness of the folk tune. Just before our love got lost, you said, okay? But you may want to not be that breathy. Sometimes breathy consonants get in the way. Like I always say at the end of Lost in the Wilderness, there's the last words are, finally we'll be found. But it's belting the last note. And many people crack on that last word. Because they go, finally we'll be found. Found. The F almost makes you want to yodel because it's voiceless for a second. And then you have to find the voice vowel afterwards. So you can either use it to increase the folkification of the tone, or you can change it to its voiced version. You can partially voice it. So an F in that case becomes a V. Finally we'll be found. Found. Or you can pressurize it with a P. Finally we'll be found. PF. Found. Okay? So F's become either adding air to the tone, or you can change it to a V. Does anyone else know what your other switches would be? Like, what would an S become? What is the voiced version of an S? An S becomes when you voice it, becomes a Z, correct. What is the voiced version of a T? Same placement, but what's the voiced version? D. A K or k becomes a g. So let's take Kevin's phrase. Hey kid, good morning. You look like an angel. So hey kid. The H, hey, and the K of kid could infuse air in the tone if you want. So lean into it, give more air. Hey kid, hey kid. If I took those away, it would sound like hey kid, good morning. You look like an angel. Text-wise, and where that occurs in the song, it would not be appropriate. So if you're trying to wake someone up gently, you don't go, hey kid. You're not like yelling on the street. Hey kid, hey kid. So you use the air that's inherent in the consonant to inform the interpretation of the text. Does that make sense? Think on that while I turn the light on. It got dark all of a sudden. The sun went down. Okay. Hey kid, good morning. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, so what? 2, 4, 6. So instead of saying 2, 4, 6, so 1, go do, vor, zigs. 2, 4, 6. Each of those words start with a voiceless consonant that's going to be hard to keep it voiced and keep you in the same spot. So try 2, 4, 6, 0, 1 versus do, vor, zigs, 0, 1. Crazy, right? Look at all these changes. Very good, folks. 2, 4, 6, 0, 1. Do, vor, 6, 0, 1. Do, vor, 6, 0, 1 is going to give you more of the cheer that you need. Those are your voiceless consonants. So either you give more breath or you voice them. I'm going to stick with Kevin's phrase because I want to teach you the next exercise, which is the chewing the glides. If you have a W, R, L, or Y, what you're going to do is tap your back teeth together. This is very confusing. It's really useful. Oftentimes, for most styles that we're talking about, you do not want to have big mouth, right? That compromises the tone. And so certain consonants will threaten to open your mouth, like a what, where, so W's, run away with me. We want to drop the jaw, and that has implications for the pharynx, for the larynx, that is beyond the scope of this. But just know that you may not want to be moving your jaw that much. So what you can do is you can tap your teeth together on those consonants. Let's do an exercise. Imagine you're yelling upstairs and you're saying, what? When? Someone wants you to go to the farmer's market on Sunday, but you didn't hear them. So you say, what? When? Let your jaw drop, let your lips spread. How does it feel to call what or when while dropping the jaw? What does that feel like? It sounds like an unnecessary amount of work. Now try this. If you touch your teeth together on the W, you can open on the vowel. Go, what? When? What? When? It's almost like saying ooh, instead of wha. What? When? So you can pop you can open your mouth on the vowel and mostly like a Pez dispenser. So don't drop your jaw this way. Open your head this way. Like you're calling upstairs. Not dumbfounded, like, what? But, what? When? Matt says you've been working on these type of things in your choir. Very good. It's going to be a good choir. Differentiate those two things. The drop jaw, the chomp, as one of my students used to call it. The chomp versus the Pez dispenser. You guys know what a Pez dispenser is? Like, you know, those candies? You like pop the head back. How would you describe what those two things feel like? What does the W feel like when you drop the jaw versus W when you pop it? Like a slingshot. Very good, Nick. I like that. Like a slingshot. Why not avail yourself of a slingshot versus like a shot put? Versus right? So you can call it the slingshot. So let's go back to, and you can do that on W-R-L-Y, the chew. That's how you remember it. Picture a radio station called W-R-L-Y, the chew. Anytime you have a W-R-L or Y, you're going to chew it. So, hey kid, good morning. You look like an angel. You look like an angel. You look like an angel. Hey kid, good morning. You look like an angel. Notice I'm going, look like an angel. Make sense? That lucky star I talk about is due. That lucky star. Katarina says, are you changing a W into an oo? Ooh. I'm almost not protruding my lips as much for a second on it. It's an ooh versus what? It's ooh. 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 I almost think it sounds angry to me for a second, or like, ooh, I'm going to tell mom, versus where have you been? Where have you been, darling? So it's not an HWH. It's almost like ooh, W. Yeah, and I will always love you. Yep. I will always love you. Versus, and I will always love you. Notice Whitney, she will open her head. And I will always love you. That's a good phrase. Right, Miss Amber. Okay, so we talked about nasal consonants. We talked about voiceless consonants. We talked about the chew. Let's go back, and we also talked about the B. Let me do those again. If it's a B or a P, you want to not pressurize it in your throat. You want to pressurize it in your cheeks. I'm trying to think of the word. We can never go back to before. Not back to before. Back. 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 It like explodes. And so it feels like way easier. Back to before. Back. That'll help you. So anytime it's a P or a B, build up pressure in your mouth. You can see that this is like a lifetime of work to play with these things, because it presumes that you are taking the lyrics, you're breaking it down to the sounds, you are making sure that all of the sounds are assigned to their pitches, and then you are applying each of these strategic rules on there. I just want you to have heard it once, and there are some more tricks too when it comes to vowels, how we do the onsets of certain vowels, But this week, I want you to get curious about the effect of diction in decreasing your effort, increasing your power, and helping you get through certain tricky spots. Does that make sense? So I'd love to hear you posting a very small sample, a tricky sample of any song. Just give me like literally 2 measures or tops, or 4 measures tops, and I'll help you with the diction rules that are getting in the way. So we're going to look at your tricky spots through diction. Can I explain the why a little bit? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. If you do yeah, 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 lady. Say yeah, 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 lady. Yeah, 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 lady. That feels like way too much work. Versus yeah, 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 lady. Yes. I'm touching my teeth. Yes. Versus yes. So not mid, closed, open. Yes, but closed, open. Yes. Build up the pressure in your mouth, and then it explodes out. Does that help, Kevin? What's up, Deanna? He will not always say. So the he of he will not always say. There's lots of juicy diction rules in that. The H could add more fluff and eleganza to the tone. He will not always say. Or you'd have to take out some of the H. He will not, almost like ye will not. Each of that's going to change the interpretation. He will not always say. You could change you can chew those glides. He will not always say. Or he will not always say. Add more breath on the S. There's so much juice you can suck out of those lyrics. Ooh, what you would have, what you chew and pop, what you would have him say. Make a choice. You can make a choice and play around with that. Whether you want the voiceless consonants to infuse more breath and vulnerability in the tone. Have him say, but now and then. And make that a choice as an actor. That's the fun part. That was for you, Deanna. This is a man. Go see Deanna, folks. She sings, she's nailing Lady Tiang out on the tour. Commercial advertisement for King and I. Okay, that is more than enough intro. I just want to give you a brief overview. So folks, what are 2 new things you learned or heard today? What are 2 new things you heard today? I use lots of music theater references, but these are not necessarily music theater applied. You will recognize a lot of these things in old movie voice. They're very much like in old movies. But I think Jessie J, pop singer, is a great diction singer. You always get every single word, and she uses that to really get that percussive sound. Any singers that you notice have like a great percussive sound, and yet their voice always feels free, it's usually because they're using diction. Okay, good. Katerina has a question. What would you do about voiced consonants like z, v, zh? You could either lengthen them, or if you want to add more breath in the tone, you could then you can change them to their voiceless version. So I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know how to love him, what to do, how to move him. He's a man. He's a man. You could go, he's a man, or he's a man. He's a man. Either you'd have to take out the voiceness of the z, or use it to elide to the next tone. Yeah. Let me take on some of these insights. So B and P in the mouth. Boom, 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 boom. That's new to you. Very good, Amber. Amber. Fun with phonemes are not fun, but they're helpful. Very good, Katarina. Tap those teeth on the W-R-L-Y. Rad, says Nick. Puff the cheeks. The Pez dispenser. Yes. And puffing the cheeks takes straight off the throat. Good. So I'd love to hear you playing around with 2 to 4 measure cuts. And don't worry about applying a specific rule. Just give me a tricky section, and we will learn by watching each other. So I think it's best to just be a fly on the wall and observe each other and how we implement these rules. And you'll hear the difference between when you are over-articulating strategically versus either just doing too many vowels or not really applying the specific rules. Clearly, this is not necessarily a classical technique, but I think there is still some merit to doing it in a classical context, but it's less vowel-driven. Jillian says F can be pressurized, or V. When Sutton Foster appears to open her mouth and make these bright sounds, it's really she's lifting her head. Yeah, she's not going this way. Sometimes you'll see Kelly Clarkson goes this way, and it looks more strained. I love Kelly Clarkson, but Sutton Foster does the Pez dispenser, keeping the jaw here and lifting the head that way. Because think about it, if you lift the head, you're not disrupting as much of the vocal tract shape that you've created. You're just opening the lid. Whereas if you drop the jaw, you can be affecting your larynx position, the pharynx, the setup of the tone. Okay? This is a gigantic, awesome can of worms. So we're going to continue to play around this week, but I hope you enjoyed this session, and watch this again and again and again so you have more context, and then we'll do a deep dive. Okay, stay tuned for other exciting opportunities coming soon to a Tom Burke Voice Challenge near you. Be good.